Meet the Hyundai Veloster SR Turbo Series 2. It's got new Aussie-tuned suspension, a DCT automatic gearbox for the first time, and it's now more affordable. But first things first, let's check out the new gearbox. This new 7-speed DCT or dual clutch transmission is probably the biggest new feature of the updated Veloster. And though it's not quite as sporty or as sharp as Volkswagen's DSG, for example, it is still a very good little unit, and it's especially good around town. The gearbox has 3 different modes. You can leave it in drive, that's good for around town, nice and smooth. You put it in sport, and that changes a little bit quicker. Or you can hit the paddle shifters on the steering wheel and get manual override, which is much more responsive, gives you more control over the engine. Power output from the 1.6 litre turbocharged petrol engine is unchanged from the previous model, so that's still 150 kilowatts and 265 newton meters. It doesn't feel quite as quick as the manual, but it is still a pretty good operator, and it's certainly smooth and refined, if nothing else. The car's not perfect. Take the seating position. Even at its lowest point, you feel a little bit perched, and my head was certainly very close to the roof lining. Another issue is the ESP, or Electronic Stability Program. It's a bit sensitive, so when you're nailing the throttle out of corners, it tends to dull the drive as it turns on the brakes and stops you accelerating the way you want to. The good news? It's amazing to look at. On top of this matte blue paint job, the car has an asymmetrical design, which means the driver's side has 1 door, the passenger side gets 2, and that makes getting into the rear a lot easier. The interior is great too. There's loads of features. It's got all the mod cons, and I especially love the heated and cooled seats in this model. Rear seat room is actually not bad for such a small car. Legroom is fine, headroom's a little tight, but on the weekend I even managed to fit the child seat here too. And the boot's rather deep too, so you can load it up with groceries or whatever. Another benefit of its small size is that it's easy to park, and throw in all the sensors and a reversing camera, and this thing's a very city-savvy vehicle. The Series 2 Hyundai Veloster Turbo has a lot of appeal. It's got more features, it costs less, and of course you get that new 7-speed automatic transmission. Although it's not as dynamically engaging as something like a Golf GTI hot hatch, there is a lot to like about this, especially the unorthodox design.